Hello, I'm Greg Hill. I'm the chairperson of the Colony Communications Committee. And today, we're going to meet the 7 Colony residents who are running for the 3 open positions on the Colony Homeowners Board of Directors. The rules were very simple. None of the candidates were provided with any advanced knowledge of the questions they were about to be asked. Each of the 7 candidates were asked the same 4 questions. All of the interviews were recorded live with no opportunity for retakes. Now, let's meet the 7 residents who are running for the Colony HOA Board of Directors. Hello, I'm here today with Tom Bracken, a candidate for the HOA Board of Directors. Tom is presently an incumbent, and I'm going to start right in, Tom. What colony committees have you served on, and how will that influence your serving in the HOA Board of Directors?
I have served, they used to have a committee called the Engineering Committee. I served on that until it broke up. And then I help out on the funerals, stuff like that. And I've been on the board for almost 4 years and served on the liaison to the Landscape Committee, the library, et cetera, so.
Well, Tom, if you were re-elected, what is your vision of the colony under your leadership?
My vision of the colony is to try to keep the dues to a minimum, the raise to a minimum, and to make sure it's for all the people, not part of the people. That's what I would like to see accomplished.
What background and experience do you have that you believe qualifies you to serve on the Colony Board of Directors?
Oh my God. I have owned the business. First of all, I was in partnership with a guy for 3 years. I have owned my business for 36 years, still doing it. We're structural concrete. I'm still involved in it, not as much as I used to be. I'm on the negotiation committee for the carpenters, wages of the carpenters, because we're a union contractor. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes me pretty qualified.
Describe what strategies you would use to achieve conflict resolution.
Well, last meeting I said I would hit somebody over the head with a chair to get the conflict over with. But I try to reason with people. You're not going to get everything you want. It's 1,586 homes in here. You're not going to get everything you want. I just like it to be a fair and balanced situation. I'm a very fair person, and I just like it to be balanced. I don't want some guy coming in at a young age and try to beat up an 80-year-old guy. I just don't see that. So that's all I want is a balanced colony,
Well, Tom, as we're winding down here, I have one last thing I want to ask you, and that is, do you have anything you'd like to say about yourself personally or about your campaign?
Well, one thing I would like to say is to the voters out there that I've been on the board for 4 years, and I just want everybody to be aware of your. If you vote for me, I would honor it. But if you don't vote for me, at least vote for some independent thinkers, that they think outside of the box instead of with a group of 4 which rules the board. And that's basic what I'm trying to say. And I always look at myself as a very independent thinker. I don't go with a group, and just because 4 wants to rob a bank, that don't mean I'm going to join with them, And that's all I want to say. Just kind of watch who you vote for. If you vote for me, I will be honored that you vote for me. If not, just trying to think of independent thinkers. And I think that's very important on the board. And that's basic it.
Well, thank you very much, Tom, and good luck.
Thank you, Greg, very much. Thank you.
I am sitting here with JOANNE DEACON, who is a current member of the HOA board and is running for re-election. And I want to ask you a few questions here, JOANNE. What colony committees have you served on, and How will that influence your serving on the HOA Board of Directors?
Well, I've been on the board of directors for about 4.5 years, and prior to that I served on the architectural committee for 2 years, and I was vice chair of that. I also served on the library committee, and I was a block captain. So, and I was also on a long-range planning committee that residents were a part of at one time.
Now let me ask you, if you are reelected, what is your vision of the colony under your leadership?
Well, one of the things I'd like to finish if I'm reelected, we had begun about 2 years just before the pandemic, a strategic long-range plan for the colony. Now, at our ages, long range is more like 2 to 5 years. We're not talking 10 to 20 exactly. But even that is not something that we currently have. So every time you get a new board and you get a change, you get changes in ideas and everything, and you lose direction. So I would like to complete that project of putting together a plan. We had started it by putting together all of the ideas that everyone had, the ones that we have to do that probably come out of reserves, the ones that we would like to do that are new, like security systems or improving our new orientation meetings for new residents. Some of those cost money, some of them don't. But we really don't have a coordinated plan, and I would like to complete that so that as we change boards, we have a direction. You can always input and make changes to it, but at least we know where we're at and what we're looking for.
What background and experience do you have that you believe qualifies you to serve on the Colony Board of Directors?
I have a business background. I went to work for a startup company that became Intel Corporation. And it was only 4 years old at the time, and it was very much in engineering. That's the computer chip company. But it's very much an engineering company, and they very much, you research, you validate, you're innovative, you like change, and that's what I grew up in. I had 25 years with that company. I was a business administration manager out looking for new leases for offices and coordinating the furniture and so forth and the layouts. I was a customer services manager for the Southwest U.S., and I was human resources that included field sales and South America. So a lot of business background, a lot of projects I worked on, led. I did a lot of training for managers. I see things from a business perspective, and I think that's important for the board.
Mm-hmm. Describe what strategies you would use to achieve conflict resolution.
I did a lot of that in human resources and customer services, and it was usually person to person. What you may find in other areas are committees to committees or other types of conflict. And conflict isn't necessarily bad. I think it's how you view conflict. Conflict can be a different idea that someone has. And I think if you first listen and you actually clarify what the person's really saying, in other words, make sure you're both, the conflict that you have is something you both understand, or both committees or parties understand, you'll get facts and you'll get emotions, and emotions are a big part of it sometimes. So once you clarify what the real problem is, start asking for ideas. Take it apart in pieces and start with the smaller part of it and get some resolution and build up to a conclusion that you have. This works when people listen. When people are angry and shouting and screaming, it doesn't work. You just reschedule it another time.
Well, Joanne, thank you very much, but I do want to give you an opportunity to say anything that you would like the residents to hear about yourself or about your campaign.
Well, the 4.5 years that I've been on the colony board, the first 6 months I was selected by the board to finish someone else's term, and then I ran. I spent a year as treasurer, and that was a year, I think the last year we didn't have a dues increase, and I'm not sure that was altogether my accomplishment. I've also spent 3 years as vice president under working with 3 different presidents of the board. My husband and I have been married for 50 years on September 11th. We have 3 children, 3 grandchildren. We've been in the colony for 19 years, and I'm a volunteer, like a lot of you, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts, PTA, church, charities. For about 5 or 6 years, I volunteered in our grandchildren's classrooms until they got up to about the 5th grade, and I had to learn a new kind of math. And at that point, I bowed out, and I started volunteering in the colony on committees. So I have a good brain, and I think God meant me to use it. And I have a good sense of business, and this is a good place to practice that. I said 4 years ago that I ran for the board to make sure that our home values stayed in the plus side, and I think what's going on right now isn't necessarily a result of anything any of us are doing. It's just California's boom or bust market. But I think it's important to have our homes looking nice, and our landscape, and have a lot of participation, and that's one thing I'm hoping we get, is more participation for all the committees and the board from residents. And thank you for having me.
Well, thank you very much, Joanne, and good luck to you as you seek re-election.
Thank
Take care
you.
now. Well, today we're being joined by Wendell Jackson, who is having his first attempt at running for the Colony Board of Directors. Good morning, Wendell. How are you
Good morning.
today?
Just fine, thank you.
Let's start right out with the questions. What colony committees have you served on, and how will that influence your serving on the HOA Board of Directors?
Well, let's see. At last count, I think I've been on 7 committees. I even wrote them down just in case I was asked that question, because I can't remember me living in the colony. I'm on Access and Safety, specifically in charge of the stickers for age verification every 2 years. Finance Committee, Recreation Committee, Men's Club Golf Tournament, Golf Club, the SCGA delegate thereof, the Marine Thanksgiving Dinner at the Colony, and Solar Committee. And all those would help me immensely, I would think, being on the Board of Directors because of the wide scope of what that's covering.
Okay, excellent. If elected, what is your vision of the colony under your leadership?
Well, I don't know that it would be under my leadership. We haven't elected the president yet, and I don't want it. The colony would have less divisive sides to it, like it seems to be getting right now. I think we could become more of a wholesome community, all looking out for each other, loving each other, just living out our years in peace and quiet.
All right. Well, what background and experience do you have that you believe qualifies you to serve on the Colony Board of Directors?
Well, interesting you should ask that. I've had a wide and varied history. I've started off my career pulling weeds in my neighborhood, and then after my newspaper route, I went to Whitworth University, and from there went into banking, started the management training program of California Canadian Bank, which is part of the Canadian Imperial Bank. Then went to First Western Bank as their assistant manager, then San Juan Bank, and then American Pacific State Bank as one of their managers, Hong Kong Bank, obviously a banking career at the beginning there. And not that I changed jobs as quickly, but the banks kept buying each other out. So I figured they bought me to get the bank, but I could be wrong on that. I also had a large insurance agency in the San Fernando Valley for State Farm Insurance. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, describe what strategies you would use to achieve conflict resolution.
Conflict resolution within the community or within the board?
Within the community.
Well, I usually find that if you have a conflict, the best way to overcome the conflict is not fight each other, but get both sides, take them apart, have them talk to each other. Both of them probably want the same end result, what is best for the colony, but they have different ways of getting it. Sort of like our political situation nowadays. We both want what's best for the United States. We both have different ways of getting to it. If we'll sit down and talk, we'll probably come to a common ground.
Well, my final question to you, Wendell, is do you have something that you would like to tell the residents about yourself or your campaign?
Sure. I'm going to cheat and read it because I figured that might be one of the questions. We have many candidates running for the board. Some have personal agendas, others only see the world in a dark and negative way. I have no agenda except loving the colony and wanting to keep it in the category of a world-class 55-plus community, as it is. I tend to see the world, the colony, and its people in a bright and positive light. I would appreciate your vote. Wendell Jackson.
Well, thank you, Wendell, and
Thank
good
you.
luck.
Thank you.
All right.
Are
take
you
care.
going to vote for me?
I can't say.
Thank you all.
All right, I'm sitting with Pam Bliss, who's
Hi.
running for the second time for the Colony Board of Directors. And Pam, I'm going to start out with our first question. What colony committees have you served on, and how will that influence your serving on the HOA Board of Directors?
Great question. I have not been on any committees in the HOA here, and I kind of have a little bit of a opinion about some of the committees here. I think that if you are a resident here and a homeowner and a member in good standing of the HOA, you should be able to serve on any committee you choose by volunteering your time and your efforts to the community. That's not the way it's set up here. It's set up here that you have to fill out an application, and then you have to be interviewed, and then you have to be approved, and then you have to be appointed. I kind of think that that's a lot of hoops to jump through when you're the one that wants to volunteer time to serve your community. So no, I haven't been on any committees here. However, I have established a community communications message board that people seem to enjoy, where we encourage a free exchange of opinions and ideas and thoughts, just so long as respect, civility, and honesty are observed. We encourage all topics to be discussed that affect the community.
All right, great. If elected, what is your vision of the colony under your leadership?
My vision would be to get back to basics. Right now, the way the colony and the board of directors is, there are no more checks and balances. Which, without checks and balances, that can lead to mismanagement. It could even go as far as leading to corruption. People are not well informed about what's going on here because there has not been transparency. I hear that word kicked around an awful lot, but I've yet to see it. So my deal would be to get back to basics and have open meetings where all of the HOA business that is not covered under confidentiality would be discussed in open meetings, where residents are encouraged to submit their ideas and opinions, and it is discussed openly and freely. I don't find that the case now, so that would be my biggest change.
All right. Well, what background and experience do you have that you believe qualifies you to serve on the Colony Board of Directors?
Well, I was president, and thank you for that. I was a president of a rather large HOA in Orange County, and I spearheaded a major lawsuit. And through that lawsuit, which took 5 years to come to conclusion, we managed to win $14 million for the residents to reimburse them for some things that had happened in the HOA. So that gives me experience. As far as business experience goes and employee relations and conflict resolution, I was a number 2 person in a $100 million electronics component manufacturer. It was multi-international. I had basically indirect reports of around 500 to 600 employees given different shifts and different times a year. So I think I bring all of that to it too.
Excellent. Would you describe what strategies you would use to achieve conflict resolution?
First off, what one needs to do if they're going into a conflict resolution is leave their own personal opinions and personal agenda at the door. So you need to be totally unbiased, no matter how strong your feelings may be on one side. If you can't divorce yourself from those feelings and come in as a truly, totally unbiased person, then you don't belong in conflict resolution. So you need to respect both sides. You need to give both sides equal opportunity to speak. And then you need to try to find a common thread, a common ground. That's what's worked best.
Very good, Pam.
Thank you.
The final thing I want to ask you about is I want to give you an opportunity to mention anything about yourself personally or about your campaign you'd like the residents to know.
Okay, thank you. Well, you'll see my campaign statement in the upcoming newsletter. And last year, as you know, I went down in flames. But you'll also remember that there was a pretty well-organized effort against me. And I think we kind of now know why. There are some situations that have come to light recently, like the pool pavilion, I think was terribly mishandled. I'm not saying whether I was for it or against it. I'm just saying it was very mishandled. And I think that's why it was not approved. I think that there are some things that if you believe that there should be no changes and you believe that there should be no real accountability for the board, then don't vote for me. If you believe that new members, new homeowners that come in here are stripped of some of their rights until they've lived here for at least a year, and that can affect them for up to 2 years, then don't vote for me, because I don't believe that that's fair. So there are a lot of issues that you can read in the newsletter. This is a campaign that I'm hoping is for the community. Whether you vote for me or not, I'm still going to pursue these issues for the betterment of the community and still release information to the community so that the community is better informed. I'm always open for people who have suggestions or comments or anything like that, so long as they're civil. One thing that I will forcefully fight against is things that are made up out of thin air, just for the sheer purpose of destroying somebody's character or putting out information that is not true and not substantiated. I won't do that, and I don't think anybody else should. I don't think anybody in this community deserves that. I think that this community needs to come back together to have a real sense of a community. I hear a lot of people say that, and then following that, they say very divisive things. I think we just need to end it there. This community needs to unite, needs to come together, it needs to be open, it needs to be inclusive. And that's kind of what I'm running for.
All right. Thank you, Pam, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Greg.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I am here with Bruce Delfonso, running for the first time for a position on the Colony Board of Directors. Yep. Welcome, Bruce.
Glad to be here.
I'm going to jump right into our questions. What colony committees have you served on, and how will that influence your serving on the HOA Board of Directors?
Okay, so currently I am on the Architectural Control Committee, and that has been an eye-opener for me since I moved in. Having continuity in the community is important. I always knew that, but really understanding all the little things that create that continuity. Now, by definition, the Architectural Control Committee is not one of the more popular committees because we have to set up regulations, we do inspections, but going through that process and understanding those things that drive the continuity, what's important from an architectural standpoint, because one of the key things in this community is to keep up home values and to create an environment that's really great to live in. And continuity gives you that. Not that everybody has to be the same, but what are those little things to create that weave of continuity throughout to help have a pleasant area and keep our home values up?
All right, Bruce.
So I am on another one too.
Okay.
I'm on the board of directors for the Colony Men's Golf Club.
Oh, good.
And I've been doing that for a while, and I'm the tournament director there. And so I've gotten to know a lot of those guys and really understand the broad spectrum of ages because so many different ages participate.
Sure.
So,
well, then let me ask you, if you're elected, what is your vision of the colony under your leadership?
The vision of the colony. The colony is, so one of the things we need to remember is the colony is not a retirement community. What it is an active 55 plus community that happens to be a great place to retire. And my wife and I learned that because this place has exceeded our expectations. And it's kind of some of the things I was going to cover in my closing statement, but really the vision is that being an active 55 plus, that creates a lot of different demographics. And within those different demographics are different needs. And understanding what those needs are by working with the people, working with the committees, working with the clubs is so important to go through all that. And at the same time, we need to manage facilities, we need to manage the things that are available for people to take advantage of, and the services around those. And to be able to do that and manage that within our means. I mean, we all contribute every month our HOA fees, and we need to pull all that together. And really, you look back, this place is 32 years old or something like that. People have done a great job through changes, through evolving it. And what I wanted to be able to do is help create a framework to continue that for the next 32 years and beyond, that we can keep going. And that's a very high level of the, of the
great.
vision.
What background and experience do you have that you believe qualifies you to serve on the Colony Board of Directors?
Oh, well, I've had a lifetime of serving and working. I worked for John Deere for 38 years. And I think one of the things I bring that really I learned throughout my different areas, I have a positive outlook on stuff. Once you identify what the value is, I try to start with, well, then how can we do it, as opposed to why we can't. And it's not that we still identify barriers. We have to work through those barriers. You don't ignore them, but what are the opportunities to overcome them? I have the ability to put myself in the customer's shoes. And that's one thing I learned at Deere. I started at Deere as a computer programmer. Over the years, they saw that I was pretty good at putting myself into the customer's shoes, having that empathy, and I moved into marketing and really developed that skill, which I think will help. My ability to work on a team. I've done a lot of teamwork in different areas. I'm able to get along with people, and I'm able to agree to disagree when that's necessary too. Knowing that, we all got something in common. Let's work together and get things done. And so if you hit that point, sometimes you got to move along. I was always pretty good at working to motivate a team to a common purpose to get whatever we need to done. And the key there is, I know I'm not the smartest person in the room. You got to value other people's opinions, get the input, get the team input, and move forward, but keep them focused, keep them excited, and keep them moving forward.
All right, so let's ask you, can you describe what strategies you would use to achieve conflict resolution?
Oh, conflict resolution. I've had a lifetime of that too, simply through work, through church, and through hobbies and sports. Conflict is inevitable, especially in a community this size. You've got 1,586 homes, and out of that, probably 1,500 different ideas on how to do things. I was able to work, I was the president of the board of directors for Short Hills Country Club, where I came from. And that was an area where we had 300 families, most of them very successful businessmen, all type A personalities, and they, of course, knew what was the best way. And so we had quite a bit of conflict there. And I think the key is, first, like I said, understanding you don't have all the answers, but listening. Listening is so much better than talking in so many ways. You really need to understand that, people have different perspectives, they have different life experiences. You need to have empathy for that and put yourself in their shoes. And I think the key is, first, start with the common ground. When there is difference, start with what's common, and let's build up from there and really understand what are the differences and what's the impact on the community for that. And like I said, there comes a time you got to agree to disagree, but we're all still neighbors, we're all still friends. It's time to move on.
All right, very interesting. Well, finally, I want to give you the opportunity to tell the residents anything you want to tell them about yourself or your campaign.
Okay. Well, as I said, my wife Lori and I, we moved here in 2018. And very simply, it has exceeded our expectations. We also need to keep in mind that defining what active is important. And I kind of touched on that earlier,
Yes.
the different demographics. And that is going to be driven so much by, you got different segments, and that segment of what active is going to really be defined by what's your age and what's your health, and the combination of those two. So it's going to be different, and a board needs to understand what those differences are. We need to make sure that we have facilities that are safe, that are modern, and that are available. They got to be available for our residents, so we need to have services around those facilities to keep them safe, to keep them modern, to keep them available. This includes our community center, it includes our pool, the tennis courts, all that stuff. It includes all of our common areas, and it even includes around our homes, and that's important. One thing we need to make sure is that as a board, we provide clear direction to the management company. That is so important, and we have to work together with them. We work together to make sure that we deliver a world-class experience for all of our residents, both in facilities and services. We need to make sure that we're aligned with them on how this gets accomplished, and we need to hold them accountable to make sure the job gets done. And then finally, like I said, we need to match this to our financial means. Every month, we're all writing that check each month to pay those HOA dues. And what we need to do is we need to ensure that our investment in our homes and the investment in our community, that it's protected and growing. And the last thing I'd say is I'm asking for their vote so that I can serve and that I can contribute to this great community and finding even more ways to make it even better. I am committed to this community, and I look forward to it.
Well, thank you so much, Bruce, and we wish you good luck.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, I'm sitting here with Jim Nash, who has previously served on the board and has recently taken a hiatus and is seeking that role again. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you.
Let me start with our questions. What colony committees have you served on, and how will that influence your serving on the HOA Board of Directors?
Well, prior to being on the board, I served on the Finance Committee for 8 years. And that has given me a lot of insight into how the operations work in the colony, because as the Finance Committee gets involved in probably every aspect of the operations of the colony in developing the budget every year. When I was on the board, I was a liaison to the Architectural Committee, so I know very well how they function. And I was also a chairman of the Violations Committee. So I think the committee work, whatever committee it is a great background for an introduction to the board.
Absolutely. Now, if you're elected, what is your vision of the colony under your leadership?
Okay, that's a good question. I have a vision, but I'd be more concerned about the community-wide vision. One thing I'd be an advocate for if I was on the board would to conduct a community-wide survey. Not only serve maybe to see what direction people want to see the colony go, but also maybe serve as a report card on how we're doing. I guess my vision is somewhat important, but I'd be much more interested in what the community has to say. And we have a management company, professional management company. They have done this in the past, not here, from other associations, and I think they'd put together an excellent survey.
Okay, very good. What background and experience do you have that you believe qualifies you to serve on the Colony Board of Directors?
Well, in addition to serving on the board for 2.5 years and experience on the Finance Committee, last 30 years of my professional career worked for a company that consults with homeowner associations on all aspects related to reserves, reserve funding, reserve budgeting, and I was on the company name was Association Reserves, Inc. They're a national company. I was on the board of directors and served as director of operations for 30 years. And that probably makes me unique. I don't think anybody else has that kind of background. So I bring that to the table. That's one reason I serve on the Finance Committee. And that would be the one thing I would tout.
Great. Describe what strategies you would use to achieve conflict resolution.
Good question. I think as a person, and maybe as a board as a whole, we have to recognize that there are different values, different differences between people. You're not going to have all 1,586 residents be satisfied with whatever you do. That's virtually impossible. I'm the type that tends to seek common ground. I think I find myself very objective. I can look at issues from several different sides, and I can appreciate those sides of the issue. And seeking compromise.
Now, the final question for you, Jim, is there something you want to tell the residents about yourself or about your campaign?
Not necessarily. I'm a 12-year resident. I'm married. My wife Sally. We live here. Maybe one thing unique. We are a second-generation colonist. We've been coming here since 1996. My wife's parents owned the house that we're in now. They loved living here. We loved coming here to visit. And when they passed away, we were fortunate enough to be able to acquire the house. So I think that's kind of interesting. I'm fully retired. Can devote a lot of time to the job. Plan on doing that. And I think if I have something we haven't talked about is my concern about a lot of residents. I think about my immediate neighbors is resident welfare. I think there's a lot of people here who need assistance. Something I would advocate taking a look at.
Well, thank you very much, Jim.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure talking with you, and good luck in your campaign.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Hi, I'm sitting here with Bonnie Graham, who's running for the Colony Board of Directors on the second attempt. And Bonnie, I'm going to start by asking you our first question. What colony committees have you served on, and how will that influence you serving on the HOA Board of Directors?
Well, thank you for having me, and that's a great question. I have lived here for 15 years. I have served on several committees. The first one is the Communications Committee, yay, yay, Communications Committee. And I've also served on the Landscape Committee. I have also served in several clubs. I'm the current president of the Colony Chorus. I am the secretary of, I just forgot, with Brenda, Players Group, thank you. So I do a lot. I'm involved in a lot and have been for the 15 years here that I've lived.
Well, good. If elected, what is your vision of the colony under your leadership?
Oh, I really don't have an overall vision. What my vision is to really find out what the people want. And if you're going to find out what the people want, you have to have better communication. And that's a place that we need to start. And I strongly believe that it shouldn't just be for a few people, it should be for all of the people. And with better communication, we can do that.
Okay, that's good. What background and experience do you have that you believe qualifies you to have a position on the Colony Board of Directors?
Well, thank you. Great question. I have been a realtor for over 30 years. I know the colony quite well. I know the CCNRs. I know what it has to offer, and I know what others have, other communities outside the colony that are 55 plus have to offer too.
All right. describe what strategies you would use to achieve conflict resolution.
Yes, I've seen that. Well, I think that we're all here together. We're all wanting the same thing in the end. And we just need to, calm down a little bit and think of the other person's perspective and see how you two can meet in the middle. It's what it's all about in the end.
All right, that's very good. Now, my final question is, do you have anything that you'd like the residents to know about you personally or about your campaign in general?
Well, thank you. I do. I wanted to let you know for 15 years that I have lived in the colony, my home and my love of this community has guided me to seek a position on the board. And I want to be a leader to guide this community in the future by building a long-term value in this property. I believe a pathway to open communication and accountability must prevail as the colony faces the future. As a successful businesswoman for more than 30 years, my many years of service to the colony and my passion to do the right thing qualifies me to run for the board. I feel board members must be curious, compassionate, and committed to communicate and conduct themselves ethically. I believe a board member plays a key role in an important triangle. All three must have qualified importance, and that's residents, board members, and management. As one element does not stand alone. Too often the residents fail to be heard, and they should be heard. That is why I am running. My top priorities of why I say better with Bonnie is my 15-year record of donating many plus hours to this community shows the love of the community that I have. I promote doing the right thing. I've always been a curious person because I think if you don't ask, you don't know. And I think communication is the lifeline of a unified community. With the new board comes change, and I want to be part of that change that promotes all voices to be heard. So I thank you for your support.
All right, thank you very much, Bonnie,
Thank you.
Good luck. Well, there you are, the 7 colony residents running for the Colony Board of Directors. And if you need more information, it will be published in the Colony News in the August edition. Also, all 7 candidates are invited to appear at the Colony Candidate Forum on August 17th at 6 p.m. Remember, the choice is up to you. Goodbye and have a great day.